You know, in the world of skilled nursing, so many different things have to click into place just right to give residents amazing care. But what if I told you that there's this one single process that can bring the entire operation to a screeching halt? Yep, we're talking about prior authorization. And today, we're going to unpack how this thing goes from being a massive bottleneck to a real breakthrough. Okay, let's get into it.
Look, I know that sounds a little dramatic, but for the folks on the front lines, it is their everyday reality. This one process can literally leave a patient stuck in the hospital, delay critical therapy, and just completely mess with a facility's revenue stream. It really is the administrative choke point for the entire skilled nursing world.
So let's start by digging into the big question here. Why is the old school, manual prior authorization process such a huge problem, such a major bottleneck for a skilled nursing facility?
Okay, so at its heart, prior authorization is basically a checkpoint. Before a facility can provide certain services, things like skilled therapy, advanced wound care, or specific medications, they have to get the green light from the insurance company. Now, this is the payer's way to manage costs, which makes sense, but for the facility, it's the first step in a really, really complicated dance.
To really get why this is so tough, you kind of have to walk a mile in the shoes of the admissions and clinical teams. So let's break down the crazy, step-by-step journey they have to go on for every single one of these requests.
So it all starts with what I like to call a document scavenger hunt. I mean, staff have to manually pull clinical info from totally separate systems. They're grabbing therapy evals from one place, the doctor's history and physical from another, progress notes from the EHR, and the patient's face sheet from somewhere else entirely. It's this scattered, super time-consuming mess just to get one packet of papers together.
And this is where it gets really nuts. There is zero standardization. None. Payer A might demand a specific PDF form that you can only send by fax. Meanwhile, Payer B makes you use their clunky online portal and wants the last 3 progress notes, not the H&P. Every single payer has their own unique rules, their own formats, their own submission channels. It's a maze that your staff has to figure out every single day.
And this really highlights the technology gap, right? We live in an age of instant everything. But the heart of this process is still built on fax machines, voicemails, and just sitting on hold for what feels like forever. This ancient technology is a direct cause of these huge delays and gives you absolutely no visibility into where anything stands.
So you see, this isn't just some administrative headache. These delays create this whole cascade of bad things that hits patients, totally overwhelms the staff, and creates some serious financial stress for the facility. Let's just trace that ripple effect for a second. A delay in the auth means a patient can't leave the hospital. That ties up a hospital bed someone else desperately needs. And that in turn means an empty bed at your SNF, which lowers your occupancy and pushes back your revenue. Then, for the patient who finally gets in, their therapy can't start on time, which could actually impact their recovery. And through it all, your staff is burning out, chasing paperwork instead of caring for people.
And let's be really clear here. We're not talking about a delay of a few hours. Getting these approvals often takes days of waiting and uncertainty for literally everyone involved.
But what if we could totally flip that timeline on its head? What if that multi-day waiting game could be squished down into just a few minutes? It sounds pretty radical, I know, but it's actually becoming a reality.
This is where the automation revolution steps in. By using artificial intelligence, we can take this broken manual workflow and turn it into something that's streamlined, digital, and just incredibly efficient.
The engine behind this whole revolution is AI-powered data extraction. The best way to think of it is as a smart system that can read all those messy documents, the faxes, the clinical notes, the doctor's orders, and it instantly understands them. It knows how to find and pull out the exact info needed for the authorization, like diagnoses and therapy notes, without a single person having to manually retype anything.
So let's look at that old timeline again. Day 1 is just spent finding all the documents. Day 2, you send the fax and, you just hope it went through. Day 3, you're on the phone, waiting on hold just to see if they got it. Day 4, maybe the payer finally looks at it, and by day 5, you're still just crossing your fingers, hoping for an answer. It's a whole week of work that's just defined by waiting.
Now, compare that to the new way. In just a few minutes, the system scans everything, pulls the data, and submits the perfect request to the payer. The review? That happens in hours, not days. And you get an approval back in hours, not at the end of some long week. The entire process gets compressed from a 5-day nightmare into, well, a single day. The difference this makes for the people on the ground is just profound.
You're going from total chaos and not knowing anything to having absolute clarity and control. Let's look at the real before and after benefits here.
The first huge change is visibility. Instead of throwing information into a black hole, your staff gets a clear, real-time dashboard. They can see the exact status of every single request, submitted, in review, approved, or maybe if more info is needed. That endless cycle of playing phone tag is just gone.
And the improvements to how things run are immediate. Forms get filled out correctly in seconds. The system can even flag if a document is missing before you submit, which means way fewer denials for simple mistakes. And all this leads to faster and, just as importantly, more predictable approvals, so the facility can actually plan with some confidence.
But the impact on your staff's time might be the biggest win of all. In the old manual world, staff are often stuck spending a huge chunk of their day, like 80%, on administrative junk. Automation completely flips that. It frees them up to spend 80% of their valuable time on what actually matters, taking care of patients. So the real takeaway here is that this is about so much more than just being efficient. It's about restoring focus. It's about lifting that burden of paperwork off the shoulders of these incredible healthcare professionals so they can do the work they signed up for. That improves morale and, of course, the quality of care for every single resident.
And all of this leads us to a new reality. Automated prior authorization isn't just some optional, nice-to-have upgrade anymore. It's quickly becoming an essential part of how modern, high-quality care gets delivered.
When it comes down to it, the value is just crystal clear. Automation lets facilities move faster, so patients get the care they need right away. It improves the quality of that care because your staff is more available. And it stabilizes your revenue by making the reimbursement process predictable and efficient. So we'll just leave you with this final thought. In an industry where the entire mission is all about providing care, it's worth taking a really hard look at your own processes. Is your administrative workflow a tool that's helping you deliver on that mission, or has it become the single biggest thing standing in your way?